If I woke up tomorrow with nothing, no money, no house, no network, no name, just my body and my mind, I'd laugh. Not because it's funny, not because I enjoy pain. I'd laugh because I know exactly what comes next. You see, when you've already climbed one mountain, climbing it again doesn't scare you. In fact, it's the second ascent where you realize how much faster you move, how much smarter you've become, and how many traps you now avoid. Most people fear starting over. I don't. Starting over is the ultimate edge because it forces clarity, hunger, and ruthless efficiency. People think success is built on comfort. No. Comfort is the death of progress. Success is forged in discomfort, in chaos, in the moments when your back's against the wall and there's no one coming to save you. That's where you find out who you really are. The truth is, the best possible beginning a man can have is exactly that. Nothing. No crutches, no handouts, no safety net. Because when there's no plan B, you execute plan A like your life depends on it. Because it does. You hand a man $10 million before he's built his character, and you've given him poison. You've robbed him of the very foundation he needs to carry that wealth with strength. That's why the world is filled with rich boys who drown in their own success. They've never suffered, never been hungry, never had to calculate how to stretch $5 across 3 meals. That kind of struggle hardens your instincts. It gives you edge. That's what makes a man dangerous. Not the money he has, but the fire he earned through hardship. So if I woke up tomorrow with zero in the bank, no one answering my calls, and not a soul remembering my name, what would I do? I'd stand up, I'd take a deep breath, and I'd remind myself, nothing's changed. I still have the same weapon that built the kingdom in the first place, my mind. The first move? Discipline. Before I touch a phone, before I chase a dollar, I train. My body is my first investment. Strength is currency. A strong body tells the world and yourself that you're a man of action, a man who can endure. When your world collapses, the last thing you let go of is your discipline. I'd hit the gym with fury, not because it makes me money immediately, but because it aligns me with the mentality required to dominate again. Winners don't wait to feel ready. They move, they execute, they build momentum. While others would waste time complaining, I'd be strategizing. Where am I? What skills do I have? What problems can I solve? The broke man asks, who will help me? The smart man asks, whose problems can I solve? That's the difference. I wouldn't look for favors. I'd look for leverage. You don't need capital to create value. You need clarity, communication, and confidence. If I'm in a new city, I walk into a gym, I offer to train beginners, I clean floors, I ask to shadow the owner. I don't beg, I serve. I make myself useful. And usefulness is power. Within days, people would remember me, not because I told them who I was, but because I showed them what I do. The modern world is starved of capability. If you show up early, stay late, work hard, and stay silent, you'll be a king among lazy men. That's how you rise, by becoming undeniable. Once I had a stable routine, training, working, building small income streams, I'd begin scaling. Most people chase money blindly. I don't. I chase impact. Money follows those who create value. And value doesn't always require brilliance. Sometimes it's consistency. I'd create content, not to go viral, that's for clowns, but to document the climb. People love the underdog story. People respect the grind when it's raw and real. I'd speak with purpose, share insight, and let authenticity carry me. Right people will listen. The right ones always do. And let's be clear, reputation can be rebuilt faster than you think. In the digital age, if you're sharp, if you're relentless, if you're real, you can build an empire from a bedroom. I wouldn't need a boardroom. I'd need a laptop, a camera, and a mission. You don't chase attention. You command it by embodying something the world is starving for: certainty. So many men walk around broken, unsure, and passive. They've been programmed to accept mediocrity, to be thankful for scraps. That's not me. That's not how kings move. If you want to rebuild fast, you don't mimic the weak. You model the warriors. You walk tall even when your pockets are empty. You speak with clarity even if no one listens yet. You carry yourself like you're already the man you're becoming. Would I feel frustrated? Sure, I'm human, but I wouldn't dwell on it. I wouldn't waste energy feeling sorry for myself. That's feminine energy. We don't have time for it. Every second spent in self-pity is a second stolen from your comeback. You either act like a victim or like a leader, but you can't be both. My kingdom was never built on cash, it was built on competence, and competence doesn't vanish with a bank balance. So when I say I'd rebuild, I don't mean I'd wait for some miracle. I mean I'd wake up, execute ruthlessly, and make the world remember my name. Not because they have to, but because they can't ignore the results. Once the foundation is set, Discipline sharpened, value created, body aligned. The next stage of the comeback begins, building the network. And let me say this clearly, you are your network. Broke people love to talk about starting from scratch, but no man truly starts from zero if he understands how to move in the real world. Because people are the fastest multiplier of power. The right conversation can change your life. The right alliance can change your destiny. But people don't know how to earn those conversations. If I had no contacts, no phone numbers, no social media presence, I'd start from the ground, but I'd climb fast. Because connection is earned, not given. I wouldn't slide into DMs like a desperate fanboy. I'd position myself like a producer, someone of action, someone with value to offer. If you're broke and unknown, your greatest weapon is service. You find the winners, you find the grinders, you find the elite, and you solve their problems. Period. You don't walk into a room and beg for attention. You walk into a room, observe, identify pain points, and make yourself indispensable. Let's say I'm in a new city, surrounded by strangers. I'd find the best man in the room, the alpha, the one people orbit. And I'd work for free, not forever. Just long enough to prove I'm not another parasite. And in doing so, I begin my infiltration. That's how men rise in silence. Not by demanding, but by earning. You don't network by asking, what can you do for me? You network by asking, how can I become so useful that you want to keep me around? That flips the script. People respect action over words, loyalty over need, competence over charisma. And here's the truth. If you want to get in the room with powerful people, become the man who brings them results. It's not enough to talk big. Results speak a language that everyone respects. You become a connector. You introduce value. You align with strength. And over time, reputation starts to form again. But this time, it's not based on noise. It's built on impact. Most men have no idea how to maneuver. They think a business card is a network. They think clout is credibility. I'd go the opposite route. I'd build deep private relationships, not 1,000 followers. 5 killers, 5 men I trust who move with purpose, who elevate the mission. That's enough. A tight, high beads. H-value network beats a crowd of leeches every single time. From there, the money comes. It always does. Because money chases alignment. When you train like a savage, speak with purpose, and surround yourself with warriors, you become inevitable. Money becomes a side effect of your existence. You get offered deals. Opportunities find you. People start saying, who's this guy? They want in. But by then, it's too late. You've already built leverage. And understand this. Influence is power, but it has to be cultivated with precision. If I started from scratch, I'd treat every piece of content I made like a war tactic. Not fluff, no trends, no begging for likes. I'd craft messages that slice through the noise. I'd speak directly to the men who are hungry, angry, ready to break free. Because when you speak with conviction, the world listens. Influence isn't about being liked. It's about being respected. It's about being real when everyone else is fake. I wouldn't try to appeal to the masses. I'd speak to the 1% of men who are ready to evolve. That's the tribe. That's the army. And if you grow an army of like-minded men, even from zero, you can take over cities. You can change lives. You can build empires. Every word I'd say, every video I'd post, every handshake I'd offer, it would be strategic, not manipulative. Strategic. Because a man on a mission doesn't have time for randomness. Everything I do must bring me closer to freedom, power, and impact. Every move is chess, not checkers. That's why most men lose. They act emotionally, I act intentionally. Let's break it down further. The first $10,000 I'd make, I wouldn't spend a cent on luxury. I'd reinvest. I'd build a lean machine. Maybe I start a service, some copywriting, editing, consulting, coaching, something that scales with skill and reputation. No overhead, just output. Maybe I partner with others. Maybe I build a personal brand that sells mindset. It depends, but one thing's guaranteed. I wouldn't chase trends. I'd build systems. You see, once you've been at the top, you understand how fast you can get back there. If you're relentless, that's the difference between a man who's tasted success and a man who's never won. I don't fantasize about making it. I know exactly what it looks like. I know the steps. I've walked the path. So the second time around, I don't hesitate. I execute. And when others see the comeback, they'll say it was luck. Let them. Weak men need excuses. Winners need results. That's why I don't talk about motivation. I talk about decisions. Either you rise or you don't. Either you move or you stay on the floor. Nobody is coming to hand you your dream. Not God, not society, not your parents. The only man who can save you is you. So, what do you do when you have nothing? You act like a man who already has everything. Not because you're delusional, but because identity precedes achievement. You move like a king before the crown is on your head. You walk like a general before the army salutes you. You create the identity, and reality follows. In this phase of rebuilding, the network phase, the momentum phase, it's not about scale yet. It's about precision, about alignment, about energy conservation. You don't waste hours. You don't chase every shiny object. You pick your lane and you master it. Every ounce of energy goes into forward movement. And remember, no one respects a man who's all bark and no bite. You must become the man whose actions silence rooms, whose presence shifts energy, whose vision infects others with urgency. That's power. And that's how you build an empire from nothing. By the time the foundation is set and the network is in motion, one thing becomes clear. You're not rebuilding anymore, that you're taking over. At this stage, the game is about domination, not survival, not comfort, not even success, domination. Most men hit a level of comfort and they stall. They hit 5K a month and suddenly they're doing okay. They buy some toys, post some nonsense on Instagram, and start coasting. Weak. That's how empires fall. Not from attack, but from apathy. A king doesn't stop building when he sees gold. He builds until his enemies run out of breath trying to catch him. That's the mindset. So if I woke up broke and clawed my way back to my feet, physically, mentally, financially, you think I'd slow down? Never. I'd accelerate. I'd scale like a man on fire, because now I've got proof of concept. I know what works. I've refined the strategy. I've tested it in the harshest environment. Absolute zero. And now it's time to weaponize it. Scaling is simple when your foundation is strong. You've got income? Turn it into systems. Automate what drains your energy. Delegate what you've mastered. Remove what wastes time. Now you're not just a hustler, you're a machine. I'd start outsourcing content, optimizing funnels, expanding digital products, launching masterminds, whatever aligns with my lane. But it's all built on the same core: value, discipline, and undeniable presence. And don't forget this: wealth is a test. It doesn't reveal who you are. It reveals whether you've earned the right to keep it. That's why you see lottery winners crash and burn, crypto kids lose their minds, influencers go broke, because they never had the character to carry the crown. Money makes cowards more cowardly, fools more foolish, and weak men even weaker. But if you're forged through the fire, money only multiplies your firepower. I wouldn't chase vanity. I wouldn't start flexing on TikTok with rented Lambos or popping champagne for strangers who don't care about me. That's what peasants do when they borrow the king's armor. I'd reinvest relentlessly in people, in systems, in knowledge, in security. Because when you start to win big, threats multiply. Trust me, the higher you rise, the more the Matrix watches. So you build quiet power, silent leverage, invisible armor. Now let's talk about mentality. Because at this point, mindset is everything. You're no longer fighting to survive. You're building to last. That requires a level of discipline most men simply can't sustain. Comfort whispers, ease seduces. But you must become immune to softness. You must train your mind like a weapon, every day. Because if you don't, you'll get fat. Not physically, but spiritually. You'll get soft. And soft men don't last long. I'd maintain the rituals that got me back to power. Daily training, clear targets, zero tolerance for mediocrity. My phone? On silent. Notifications? Off. Every call, every message, every meeting is filtered through one question. Does this move the empire forward? If the answer is no, it's eliminated. Period. And let's not sugarcoat it. Domination means making enemies. You will be hated, misunderstood, attacked. That's part of the deal. Weak men want everyone to like them. Kings don't. I don't need love. I need results. And if a few jealous mouths start barking while I'm buying buildings and stacking assets, let them. Lions don't flinch at sheep. At this stage, I'd mentor the next generation, not out of charity, but out of strategy. Because power isn't just about personal success, it's about multiplication. I'd find sharp young killers with raw hunger and turn them into weapons. That's how you stay 10 steps ahead. You train your own army. You don't rely on governments, trends, or luck. You build your fortress with men you trust. And if the world burns again, if the system collapses or some global reset wipes the board, fine. Let it burn. I've already built myself once from ash. I do it again. Faster, smarter, harder. Because when you become the asset, they can't take anything from you. Your skills, your mindset, your network, those are untouchable. This is where most people fail. They build lives dependent on external validation. Jobs, likes, paychecks, algorithms. I don't play that game. I build internal sovereignty. The kind of unshakable base that even the Matrix can't delete. That's the goal. That's the real win. Not fame, not applause, but freedom. And the power to protect it. You know why so few people ever make it out? Because they don't understand what's at stake. They think this is just about making money, or getting girls, or buying nice things. It's not. It's about beating the system before it beats you. It's about waking up every day and knowing that no one on earth controls your next move. That you don't need permission to exist. That your empire is yours, and yours alone. And that kind of power, it doesn't come from books. It doesn't come from motivation. It comes from doing the hard things every single day, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. It's forged in darkness, in silence, in the shadows of struggle. That's where real kings are born. So what's the final play? Keep building, never stop. No end goal, no finish line, just perpetual growth, more strength, more reach, more strategy. You think Napoleon ever felt done? Alexander? Genghis? No. Conquerors don't stop because of comfort. They stop when there's nothing left to take. If I woke up broke tomorrow, I'd rebuild so hard, so fast, and so loud that the world wouldn't even remember I fell. I'd build a life so bulletproof that even the Matrix couldn't touch me. Not because I'm lucky, not because I'm gifted, but because I'm relentless. And that's what separates the men who watch from the men who win. This world doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. It rewards pain tolerance. It rewards discipline. And most importantly, it rewards the man who understands that domination isn't a moment. It's a lifestyle. So remember this. If you ever lose it all, don't panic. Smile, laugh, because it means you get to do it again. Better. The weak man fears the reset. The strong man becomes reborn by it.